worked diligently to build her own sewing business.
Good for her.
Yeah, securing a contract with a local hostel to create their bedding.
Well, that's
Quadrilla's
great.
hard work and talent have brought financial security for herself and her 8-year-old son, as well as a sense of accomplishment.
That's right.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to support my family and build a better future for my son. Now, see, this is exactly what we need to be doing. Helping the believers over there live and exist.
That's right.
I mean, and Barnabas Aid is one of those that we do support. And we go through a lot of various ministries, and not all of them are ones that we support. Doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with them, but we have a certain amount of funds and resources, and we give them to some people that we've been doing for some time. So, this is the key, and I am really glad to see this when we help these people like that.
Oh, amen.
Now this is not a fun article. Of course, many of them aren't. But when you talk about communist nations, they can be some of the bloodiest persecutors of Christians. And if you talk about Christians in prison in a communist nation, it's not surprising to see Christian prisoners, just disappear. And, many times they're either going to be dead or they'll take them out of there and ship them off to some some prison out of the way somewhere where you can't find them. Because they want no notoriety of them. They don't want them to, they want them to literally die in those things. At least 72 Christians are either imprisoned or missing in 4 of the world's 5 communist countries. Well, I thought it would be more than that.
Well, me too. I think that number is too low.
This finding further highlights the scope of persecutions that Christians face while living in a communist regime. Using data from the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, ICC, that's International Christian Concern, you can find them at persecution.org, learned that 52 Christians are currently imprisoned in China, Cuba, North Korea, and Vietnam, and another 20 Christian prisoners are missing in these countries. Missing. That does not surprise me in the least. The numbers are daunting yet unsurprising, said a staffer with ICC in Asia. The actual numbers are likely much higher. See, that's what we think too.
Yes.
Communism is just as dangerous and destructive to Christians today as it was in previous generations. The 72 documented persecuted believers were imprisoned for a range of perceived offenses relating to their Christian faith, including undermining national unity policy and inciting some version of state power. A young person of China was arrested in 2021. He was sentenced to 5 years and 6 months for conducting illegal business operations, printing and purchasing illegal publications after asking a local printer to print Bibles. Apparently he didn't know you shouldn't do that.
Apparently.
In another case stretching back to 2001, Chung Yong Cheol, a Korean Christian, was arrested for studying the Bible in China and deported to North Korea and sentenced to 10 years in a political prison.
That's terrible.
God, can you believe that?
That's terrible.
For studying the Bible. I mean, there's nothing like this. I mean, in the modern world, but yet The thing that makes me mad about this is that the modern nations trade with all of these places. You know, they trade with Vietnam. They trade with China.
Yep.
You know, they trade with all of them. And America does a lot of trade with China. And another person of Vietnam was arrested in 2018 after Vietnamese authorities accused him of spreading false information about Vietnamese religious freedom and human rights abuses to persuade others to establish an independent state. Vietnamese authorities allegedly tortured him during his initial detainment, forced him to agree to no longer participate in worshiping with his church, and he was sentenced to 14 years. Well, as you can see, these particular sentences aren't short. And so there's many, many examples in this article. And the one thing that we look at here is that we need to keep in touch with organizations with boots on the ground. We need to keep in contact with organizations, and there are ministries, and there are ministries that we have supported that have an outreach into North Korea. And you will find it all the time. There is a way to get in to help these people. It's very dangerous, but there are people that do it. So pray for the churches in the communist things. You know, pray for those who are in China and Cuba, North Korea, Vietnam, Laos, and throughout Africa, there's a lot of terrible persecution going on. And terrible persecution, in Pakistan, as well as India. So, I mean, it's, take your pick. You want to take a look, and so help these people.
Yeah, that's...
And we're down at our...
Okay.
So, you ready?
Yep. Be sure to get your copy of The Rising, a Christian fiction thriller by the Watchman Dana G. Smith, a story of personal survival, the struggle of a nation, and the love of two people set amidst the prophetic landscape of perilous times. The Rising is a story of deliverance, faith, power, and the inner struggles within as an evil engulfs all those who face it. I pray not that thou shouldest take them out of the world, but that thou should keep them from the evil. And that was Jesus speaking in John chapter 17, verse 15. And you can get your copy of The Rising on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Ingram, Walmart, Angus & Robertson, and The Rising ebook can be found on Google Play. Be sure to pick up your copy today of The Rising. And part 2 of Pakistan, egregious persecution problems. This story is via christiannews.net or christiandaily.net and morningstarnews.com. christiandaily.com. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom, which the abbreviation is USCIRF, again has recommended that the State Department designate Pakistan as a country of particular concern, a CPC, citing the country's blasphemy laws as a prime source religious freedom violation. The U.S. Department does not accept all USCIRF recommendations in its annual designation of countries that practice, or tolerate egregious religious freedom violations, but it has designated Pakistan as a CPC every year since 2018. Pakistan continues to witness widespread abuses of religious freedom, including blasphemy laws, forced conversions of minority girls, and targeted violence against religious minorities, according to the 2024 USCIRF report. The blasphemy laws, particularly sections 295A, B, and C of the Pakistan Penal Code, have been criticized for broad and vague provisions, often misused to settle personal scores or target people of minority religions in the 96% Muslim country. The USCIRF report documents numerous cases of individuals, including Christians, Hindus, and Ahmadis, being fairly accused and imprisoned under these laws. Being falsely accused and imprisoned under these laws. The mere accusation of blasphemy can lead to mob violence, extrajudicial killings, and mass protests, creating a climate of fear and intimidation. The USCIRF noted the recent high-profile case of Zohab Masai, a young Christian who was wrongfully detained and tortured on false blasphemy charges, exemplifies the ongoing misuse of these laws. The report also highlighted forced conversions, particularly affecting young Christian and Hindu girls who are abducted, forcibly converted to Islam, and married off to their abductors. These incidents often go unpunished due to societal and institutional bias. In addition, the USCIRF report pointed to numerous instances of targeted violence against religious minorities, attacks on places of worship, including churches, temples, and Ahmadi mosques, continue to be a serious concern. The lack of adequate government response and protection for these countries exacerbates the situation. This has resulted in abuse of authority and miscarriage of justice, the report stated. Therefore, an exponential increase in the number of alleged blasphemy cases with FIA. On the other hand, the perpetrators of mob violence in particular get away with this through the Anti-Terrorism Act of 1997. And you can read more on christiannews.net if you would like. And now back to you.
You know, when we talk about people in prison in some of these countries, that this is not a fun thing. This is life and death. This is what these Christians are facing. Pakistan is one of the worst. And Nigeria is bad, but they didn't used to be so bad, but now they're pretty bad. And most of the reasons why is because Islam in a lot of Africa and other places has risen up. And they make major war, they got plenty of money, and, they slaughter, murder, kill.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
And so one of the, there's a lot of bad things, like getting in prison and being locked up practically forever or until you die. The other thing is what we call modern day slavery, which is a phrase connected to Pakistani Christians, and it's something that the Global Christian Relief .org another ministry that we're familiar with, tracts, because they work to get Christians